Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Team Find My Face, who I have located my face in the passing time. But yes, Dave, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. I would like to introduce you to the members of the Find My Face team. My name is David, and we have Will, Laura, Andrew, and Anna. So, Find My Face is an application which brings together professional photographers and event guests, allowing guests to find professional photos in which they are present from the event. A user simply uploads a selfie through their iOS app, and using the magic of facial recognition, will be presented with all of the images that they appear in. The idea itself came out of the experience of accessing photos that photographers had taken on a cruise holiday. The only way to access the photos was to use an application on a wall-mounted screen, which relied on you knowing which part of the ship you were on, or which bar, or which restaurant. That sounds simple, but it's not after a day of Caribbean rum punch. So we looked into this problem, and basically, clearly, it was putting off customers and causing photographers to lose revenue. So we decided to put together an app which filters photos using facial recognition and would ultimately allow customers to purchase those photos. So I will now pass you on to Will to talk you through how the app works.
Cool. So this is the app that I'm going to talk through. There's two stages. There's the photographer side and the user side. So for photographer's landing page, the homepage, you'll be prompted to upload images and create an album name. So here we'll call it Northcoders, and then we'll go into the computer and select some images to upload. We can select multiple images at one time. And just so you know, there's 5 pictures of Shaq going into this album. That's a clue for later on. So here we go. Uploaded those images. They've gone into the database and created a folder. We can now go to the photographer's album page and have a look at any previous albums we've got and, yeah, have a look around. Cool. There's our Northcoders album in the database. We can then go to the photographer's account page, and there we can see the photographer's details, change any email addresses, passwords, stuff like that, and we can log out. Cool. So now we're going to go on to the mobile app, which is built in Swift, the user view. So here we're taken, when you open the app, you're taken to a login page where you can sign in by email. This is using Google authentication on the back end. So when the user signs in, it creates an account specific for them. Shaq did volunteer, by the way, to be the very first user of our app, so he's got that pleasure. We'll give it a few seconds to load up. Cool. When it's done, it takes us through to the account details page for each user. You can see their details and email address, username, login. We'll then go down to the home view. Here, we're prompted to choose a selfie from the camera roll. So begin with, we won't choose Shaq. We'll choose an image that doesn't have a face there, and we'll see what error message it throws. No face detected. Cool. That's what we want. So we'll go back to the camera roll and choose this beautiful guy. When he loads, there you go. Grin to begin. Drum roll. How many photos do we get back? 5. It's worked. Nice. And I'll pass you over to Laura, who'll talk you through some of the front end.
So for the front end, as a group, we wanted to keep things simple, but we also didn't want to limit ourselves. So we chose React for the web browser app and Swift for the mobile iOS app. For planning, we used Adobe XD to make our original mockup, and although we didn't stick completely to the original mockup, the basic designs that we created with Adobe XD kept us on track and gave us a solid plan for us to follow. It was also really easy to import design assets directly from Apple that they provided online, which made it easier to envision the end product. For the web app, the photographer's interface, we decided it would be best to create something in the browser, as it would be easier to upload images from a desktop instead of a phone. So we decided to use React since it was something that everyone was comfortable with because it was what we learned during the course. We also decided that because of time constraints, it would be better to stick with something that we were familiar with. And for the mobile app, we decided to use Swift and Xcode. As a group, we decided that we wanted to learn something new, and we were all interested in developing a native application. All of the members of our team had iPhones, so it made sense to choose Swift for testing and development purposes. While Swift can be coded on other IDEs, like VS Code, Apple's Xcode made for a seamless development experience. With Xcode, you can design your app with storyboards and quickly drag and drop styled components into your code, where it instantly creates code for that component, which you can then add functions to. The storyboard method made it very easy to quickly create an app without having to worry about time. Another reason for choosing Swift was the built-in facial detection. So that is how the grin to begin and no faces detected work. Using the Swift core image library, you can detect faces in a photo, check if a person is blinking, smiling, and more. To save space on the back end, we decided it would be best if users could only upload selfies and nothing else, which would also prevent our function in the back end from triggering on pictures that didn't include faces. And after doing research on all of the front-end technologies, we concluded that these choices would also be best for integrating into Firebase, which brings us into our back-end tech stack.
So for the back end, we utilized Firebase. That is the foundation for our product. It communicates really effectively with React and Swift, which are the two applications that we use that Laura's talked about and also will give us a demo. It does our authentication, it does our database and storage for our photos and our selfies, and it also is where our functions live for our facial recognition. Now, talking about the facial recognition, we actually developed over the course of the last 2 weeks 2 different facial recognition libraries. One was in Python and one was in JavaScript, and I'll come back to the JavaScript one in a sec. The one that we used for Python, we developed it as far as we could, but because Python was a new language to us, we did hit a couple of stumbling blocks and a couple of glitches. One in particular was that the face recognition was matching crotches as faces. That is a very different app to what we wanted to present today. So, reluctantly, we moved over to JavaScript. We've obviously learned JavaScript and worked with it during the course during the boot camp. We were able to debug it, not bring up crotches, and get something that was fully working, just like Will demoed a moment ago. In terms of choosing between Firebase and other backends, we did consider Amazon Web Services. We did our research. We spent the best part of 2 days looking into the various things. But like Laura said, because we specifically wanted to use Swift, the Firebase made the most sense for what we wanted to do so that we could produce a minimum viable product to present to you today. I'm now going to hand over to Anna, that's going to talk about best practices.
Let's wait for that slide to pop up. Okay, so there were a number of things that worked particularly well during our project. And during the conception and research phase, we used Miro boards, and it's the collaboration software. It's useful during the spike phase, and it was for building our tech stack, and we just collected all the information there, and we stored links and resources as well. We also made good use of wireframing to quite a professional level on Adobe XD. It was really part of our planning process. The basic wireframe tied in with the user journey and the app layout, and it's provided the basic layout for the functionality as well. In our development phase, we found it really useful to have rotation of team members, and it's helped to share knowledge and sort of continue our sort of full stack experience from the course in front end and back end. We did face a number of challenges though, one namely being Firebase. There is a wealth of documentation online, but this took us a while to get used to. Also, there was an initial hurdle of understanding the infrastructure and Firebase ecosystem, and this proved to be quite challenging. We also took on Swift and Xcode, and I'd like everyone to bear in mind that this is a completely new language to us. There is a steep learning curve, and although syntactically it is similar to JavaScript, and any JavaScript developer would be able to read it, it's actually quite difficult to learn to write it. We would have liked more time to sort of practice and play with it, but we learned by doing to overcome this. In terms of successes, I don't know if other teams mentioned this, but we think it's really important to celebrate small wins. And it's especially important when you're having a bad day, when you're in dependency hell and you're logging errors. It's easy to get really despondent. I think one memorable win was in our first week. We were just taking on Swift, and it's a whole day of just going through documentation and getting compiling errors. And we managed to get a button to render, and it just kind of made our day. So, yeah. So thank you all very much for that.